Hey there, Seahawks fans. Training camp is just around the corner, and if you guys want constant updates on the good, the bad, and hopefully the even better around Seattle this offseason, hit that big red button and subscribe for videos coming out almost every single day. You're watching Seattle Seahawks Today. I am Tom Downey, here with a look at the ESPN Top 10 Receivers list and where DK Metcalf and one receiver on the team didn't rank. But let's begin with Metcalf, the positive, right? He checked in inside the top 10. ESPN polled NFL executives, coaches, scouts, players, blah, blah, blah. They asked them to do their top 10 or top 15 rankings, and then ESPN compiled the top 10 list in the end. Metcalf was as high as number 4 on at least one of those lists, but was also unranked by others. And I will make note, Metcalf is one of 4 receivers in the first 2 years of his NFL career to exceed or match 2,200 yards with 17 scores in his first 2 years, joining Odell Beckham Jr., Randy Moss, and A.J. Green. Pretty damn good company if you're DK. So here were the ESPN top 10. Then we'll get to some players left out of it, and also the lack of Tyler Lockett as well. Devontae Adams, number 1. I can't complain. DeAndre Hopkins, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Julio Jones, Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, Michael Thomas. There's DK Metcalf at number 9. And then A.J. Brown, at number 10, the 2 former Ole Miss receivers checking in at 9 and 10. I think in general, trying to sort that, frankly, 1 to 12-ish group is pretty difficult. A lot of it comes down to personal preference, but I do think DK Metcalf is absolutely worthy of being a top 10 wide receiver on these lists. He's been incredible in his first 2 years. So let me know in the comments section. Where would you rank DK Metcalf among NFL wide receivers? Get your votes in for me right now in the comments section. Now here's what one NFC executive had to say about DK Metcalf. Quote, the only concern with him is that stiff lower body fluidity. There are certain routes where he won't be able to bend like some of the other young receivers can. But he's such a force that he overcomes all that. And he has gotten better as a route runner. For me, this quote kind of borders on the whole pre-draft bias. We see it a lot in the NFL. We saw it at tight ends. Evan Ingram was terrible last year and was top 10 because he was a first-round pick. Like, that's the only reason why he was that high. Yes, Metcalf is not an elite bender. His 3-cone drill was terrible. And you know what? Hasn't mattered. NFL teams have had a very difficult time slowing and stopping DK Metcalf. Now, down the stretch last year, not as good because the entire passing offense tended to struggle. I'm not saying DK Metcalf is the best receiver in the NFL, but if you're asking DK Metcalf to run those short area, quick, bending blaze routes like slot receivers run, well, that's on you. You're stupid. You utilize a player of the size and speed that DK Metcalf has as a vertical threat. If you're not, I don't care if you can't do it. That's not what you're asking him to do. It's like saying, oh, yeah, the slot receiver can't win jump balls. Why are you throwing jump balls to your slot guy? That's just bad usage. In his first 2 years, even there have been some moments of inconsistency, DK Metcalf has looked like a fantastic receiver. Hell, after year 1, I'm like, yeah, maybe he doesn't go for 100 guy. Maybe he becomes more efficient and goes for like 850. And then he got more targets, was more efficient, and went for over 1,300 yards and, 10 scores as well. Metcalf is a stud. What actually surprised me the most about this ESPN list, though, was the lack of Tyler Lockett even getting an honorable mention. Calvin Ridley, Allen Robinson, Odell Beckham, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp for some reason. Got to mention. Kupp's got one 1,000-yard season. Lockett's got several. Chris Godwin, Adam Thielen, Terry McLaurin, Jarvis Landry? Like, Landry and Kupp, whoever put those 2 guys on their top 10 list is wrong. Like, I get it. There's a lot of great receiver talent right now in the NFL. But Tyler Lockett is like Jarvis Landry souped up. 100 grabs, which is the slot stuff that Landry can do, but at 1,000 yards and 10 scores. Like, Lockett's better than some of those names on that list. I think he's worthy of the top 15, top 20, top whatever consideration. He is a borderline receiver 1. I put Metcalf 1A, Lockett 1B, but that's a fantastic 1-2 punch. And I get that the way those rankings work is it's top 10, and then it just takes some weird mentions by a scout or two to mess it all up in terms of the honorable mentions. But for guys like Kupp and Landry to get listed over Tyler Lockett, that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. I thought that is erroneous by ESPN's alleged NFL executives, coaches, scouts, and players. Folks, Seahawks jerseys are available right now at chatsports.com/Seahawks jersey. Russell Wilson, who we'll get to in a second. DK Metcalf as well. We just talked about him, one of the best young receivers in the entire NFL. Bobby Wagner on top of that, and a bunch of different styles. There are custom jerseys too. Lots of variety right there. We haven't told you about this in a while, so we're overdue for it. Seahawks official Nike jerseys are available at chatsports.com/Seahawks jersey. That link will be in the comments section and in the description to make your lives just a little bit easier. On now to Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. Wilson had some comments he made recently about his relationship with Pete Carroll. Quote, "Me and Pete have gotten even closer. We've always been super close. Pete and I have always had a great bond. I think we got to have a great heart-to-heart. He's got goals. I've got goals. We want to do great things. To actually really dive into those and really talk about those missions, those goals, it was fun. So I think me and Coach Carroll's relationship is stronger than ever. I think that's the best part about it, and also my teammates. We're pumped about the season and getting back to playing ball and snapping the ball and scoring touchdowns and winning games." I'm not surprised that Wilson's still kind of in damage control as it relates to the offseason because things were not great, at least for a little bit with the reports. But I do want to emphasize this part. The Pete Carroll-Russell Wilson pairing in Seattle has been one of the most successful quarterback coach pairings outside of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. Almost always have won double-digit games. And yes, I want the Seahawks to win more. Everyone wants them to be a little bit more successful come postseason time. But there's about 28 franchises that would kill to have the level of success Seattle's had with Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. Don't discount that. But looking ahead long term, everyone involved needs Russell Wilson to ball out this year. Because if the Seahawks struggle down the stretch, if it's another great regular season but they win maybe one game in the playoffs, the drama is going to be back again this offseason. First 7 games of Russell Wilson last year, MVP caliber. He was nothing short of fantastic. The last 9 games, however, it wasn't nearly as good. Everything went the wrong direction. The completion percentage, the yards, the touchdowns, the adjusted yards per attempt fell off a cliff. So that's a pretty big red flag if you're Seattle and if you're Russell Wilson. That is something that they have to figure out. And in theory, the new offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, helps adjust those things. I think Wilson in the end got most of what he wanted in the offseason. But this is a pivotal year for Russell Wilson and for Pete Carroll. If the Seahawks come up short for whatever reason, there's clearly some disagreement between Wilson and Carroll as to how to maximize wins. So I'm very curious how that all gets played off depending on what happens this season. Folks, we are trying to grow here at Seattle Seahawks Today. So help us out. If you love the Seahawks, if you got friends who are Seahawks fans, send the link to 5 fans. If you only know 2 other Seahawks fans, well, help us out. Do that as well. So do me a favor, if you've got Seahawks fans out there who are also your friends, share the link, youtube.com/SeahawksTV. Let's look now at 3 sleepers on the Seattle Seahawks for the 2021 season. These 3 players, I should say, comes to us from Fanside, and it's a different group of names than what I would have gone with, which means maybe they are sleepers in the end. First up is Rasheem Green, who saw his numbers take a pretty big step back in 2020. Injury certainly a part of that. In 2019, it seemed like Green was better than LJ Collier, which was good and also bad. This past year, though, Collier emerged as the better option in Seattle in that kind of 5-tech, 3-tech role. This season, in what will be a bit more of a bare front defense, the defensive end key guys are going to be Dunlap, Benson, Mayowa, Kerry Hyder. And I think you might see an Alton Robinson, a Darrell Taylor, and maybe an Alton Smith, who knows at that point, also get run at the outside edge rusher spot. With the loss of Jarran Reed, my suspicion is that LJ Collier and also Rasheem Green are going to get plenty of run at defensive tackle. More in that 3 technique or probably some 5 technique reps as well. I think Green and Collier can do that. If Green can emerge and get a stranglehold back on a job, there is the opportunity for a breakout year. So of the 3 guys here, I'm inclined to like the selection of Green the most. My least favorite pick, though, is Tre Flowers. Now, those of you who have watched the show for a while know that I'm not really a big Tre Flowers guy. There were some flashes early, but I think he is who he is at this stage of his NFL career. I don't really want Tre Flowers starting. Frankly, I'm still unconvinced he's even guaranteed a roster spot. Because Marquise Blair, Ugo Amadi, those two players I think are locked in at nickel corner. That leaves DJ Reed, who's making the team, I think will start, as one of the outside guys. Then it's down to the aforementioned Tre Flowers, maybe Pierre Desir, maybe Demarius Randall, maybe Trey Brown sooner than later, and Nikello Witherspoon. I think Witherspoon ends up earning that job. So do you want Flowers to be your CB3 outside? That could certainly work, or maybe they go cheap and go with a Desir or a Randall, or maybe Brown impresses. So I would like to be wrong, very much so, on Tre Flowers. I've just been pretty underwhelmed with him, especially more recently in his NFL career. Now, the defense is probably the lesser area for Seattle, given the high-poweredness of the offense when it's clicking with Russ Wilson. The secondary in particular, cornerback, maybe the most concerning spot. So what is your confidence level then in the Seahawks defense? I want you guys to rate this for me on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being not confident, 10 being think it's going to be the best unit in the entire NFL. And finally, and this one is a good sleeper pick, even though I'm not sold on him, that's Rashaad Penny. If he can capitalize on the talent, absolutely. And I think that he definitely has the upside to still contribute to the team. The problem is, I think Rashaad Penny's stuck behind other guys. Chris Carson is very clearly the lead back. Now, Carson has been injured many a time in his NFL career. And that's why I like Penny as a sleeper suggestion, although very much a boom or bust one. Carson goes down, I think Penny's the first guy up because DJ Dallas, Travis Homer, more third down guys. We'll see if Alex Collins ends up making an impact and or the roster this season. When healthy, Penny's shown flashes. It's that the consistency has never really been there, in part due to injuries, but last year was a complete non-factor. I wanted to believe in Rashaad Penny. It's not fair to be fully out on him right now because of the injuries, but this is kind of the last chance for Rashaad Penny. If he doesn't impress this year, outside of a cheap return deal, I think his time in Seattle is pretty much over.